And we may as well videotape the little trick too while we're at it.
Fine with me.
No matter how many cylinders you've got, it saves you a lot of time, trouble, hassle, and headache if you're doing a compression check to put 1 dot on that wire, 2 dots on that one, 3, 4, 5, 6.
Yep.
That way we can just lay the wires away.
Sounds
and
good.
We'll know right off the bat what goes where after we get done.
Gotcha.
So, but I did want to show the people in YouTube land that these 2 front rocker assemblies were dry. Okay, I drove it just from the house driveway over to here, and we now have oil here and here, so that's a good sign. But we still don't have oil over here on this that I showed in the first part of the 62 BelAir. And this is my decal guy and the owner of this beautiful 1962 BelAir. You're doing a marvelous job. I couldn't have done it better myself. It's so much easier just holding the camera, you know it?
There you go.
We'll go ahead and clamp the camera down while he's pulling spark plugs. I'm going to pull the air cleaner so that we can make sure that we've got the throttle plate all the way open when we do the compression tests. That's a long screw.
Yes, it is.
But we'll come back to you guys as soon as we've got the compression tester on and we are ready to do our first compression test. So hang on. Oh, before I do that, we want to make sure that we're within 15% through all 6 cylinders. In other words, within 15% of PSI. And original PSI on this engine per cylinder compression is 110. So we're hoping to get those numbers. Will the engine run on 50 PSI? Absolutely. Is it optimal? Absolutely not. So any large discrepancies or huge numbers, huge number variance, means we've got deeper seated issues than just our oiling issues here. And then we'll leave it up to Scott. If he wants to, we can still go ahead and go through and make sure everything's oiling okay up here, but he'll have to turn it into just a Sunday quick jaunt driver until he's ready to pull the engine and have the engine rebuilt. But we're not going to count our chickens before the eggs hatch. We're going to hatch all 6 of those eggs here shortly, so hang on. Alright gang, looking at the plugs, they look really good, okay? But this is going backwards. There's 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. 1 and 2 have gotten quite a bit of heat in them, so fingers crossed that that heat hasn't damaged the pistons or the rings. So we're going to find that out here momentarily. Alright gang, we are getting ready to do the compression test, but I wanted to show you guys what you need to do, the process. 1, use a remote start with the ignition key off, spark plugs out so you don't have any spark going to the ignition coils. And 2, you want to give it as little air restriction as possible, so open your carburetor butterfly and choke as wide as they'll go so that there's no air restriction. After you do that, we went ahead and pulled all 6 spark plugs out, as you saw, and we're now getting ready to thread in and start hitting the button. So I'm going to give the remote controller to Scott. I'll thread in the compression tester and we'll check out cylinder number 1, but then we'll come back after we get the end results of everything. But we'll show you guys cylinder number 1 compression, because I know if any of them are going to be low, it's going to be 1 and or 2. So fingers crossed they're not that low. And these are a lot nicer than the hold them on there ones, because they'll always bypass it. You always end up with bypassing air. And this one also locks so that when you get your high compression number, it stays on there so you can read it. So, all right, gang, and you want to watch this needle and rotate the engine at least 4 compression cycles on cylinder number 1. So you'll see this come up once, wait, come up twice, wait, come up 3 times, wait, come up 4 times without letting go of the button. Okay, that'll give you a relatively accurate, and that's what we're going to do on each cylinder, is just 4 compression stroke rotations. So it has to go through the other 5. So it's going to roll over for a little bit, but we do have all 6 spark plugs out, just so the engine doesn't have to work as hard to give us our compression numbers. So here we go. Next. I don't know if you guys can see that or not. This bottom end must have been rebuilt at some point in time. We are at 142.5. So we're going to go through. That's fantastic. That's even over factory spec. So we're going to go through and check the other 5, and we'll come back and let you know what the results are. All right, so we're not sure if Scott is happy or sad, because he said he's not going to do a happy dance.
No.
But the compression numbers are in, and you guys are not going to believe the compression numbers, but here they are. 142, 142, 150, 145, 145. You really can't get much better than that. That is outstanding. So that tells us we are a go to go ahead and take the rocker arm girdle off and get all these ports cleaned out and cleared out. We'll have to make sure we keep absolutely everything in order. We'll leave the push rods in, and we will pull the push rods out one by one to make sure that they're clear and that they're oiling. But we can pull all of them out and lay all 12 of them out, but we don't have to while we're cleaning the rocker assembly. So, and even just cranking it over without running the engine, we were pumping oil up out of this one. So you can see the rusty color. I get just squirting oil on there cleared that one particular issue. So we'll get these bolts broke loose, carefully broke loose, and there's no real reason for you guys to sit here and watch me clean that. Hydraulic riser or hydraulic lifters, if the lifters themselves are collapsed, all we'd have to do is to pull the gallery pan off with the push rods out and the rockers off, and extract the lifters. We can try to clean them, or we can just replace the bad lifters. But fingers crossed that the lifters will pump back up. We don't want to make any adjustments to anything until we're sure that those lifters are pumping up. So we'll see you guys after we get this off, cleaned, and reinstalled, and we'll make that part 3, so we can do enough of a happy dance to know that this engine has definitely been worked on top to bottom. Scott said that he knew that the top end had been worked on. He was unaware that the bottom end had been worked on. So it's good to know that somebody got in there and did some work, and some real work, because those compression numbers, that's Now even the 53 Corvette, 54 Corvette that had the same 235 didn't have those compression numbers. So, not bad. Alright, we will see you guys on part 3. Later. Happy.
So far.
Alright gang, right before we end it, I'm going to let you guys know what's going on here, okay? We had a couple of plugged ports, and we had 2 really bad rocker arms on number 1 cylinder. I've done already put it back together, but hear that clicking? It's rocking. So this one's really bad, this one's just bad. This one got so bad that the oil groove underneath it to keep the oil circulating around was actually completely gone, and there was a nub on there where the oil hole is on the bottom side, on the bottom side, that was the oil groove was completely gone, but there was this perfectly round plug where just the movement of the rocker arm opening and closing the valve had wore down so much of the rocker arm that it left that little nub up in there. But so Scott's going to work on getting these two, got the exhaust and the intake, and they're different angles. So we've got the angles marked. They're actually numbered. We have a what, number 7 and number 6?
Yep.
Number 7 and number 6, just to get by. But ultimately, we're going to source an entire 235 valve train after he checks the head numbers to make sure it's a 235 head and not a 250 head. So there we have it. I'll put this in somewhere.